Well, the Kings fired Mike Brown.
4-hour pod. Here we go.
Is it that long already?
They were playing the Pistons, and wow, they choked this game. They were about 10 points. They let them come back. Jaden Ivey hits a three and is fouled stupidly by De'Aaron Fox. And then one day later, boom, bam, Mike Brown is fired. And it was after he had his media availability. He hosted an entire practice. He talked to the media, and then the media found out this dude just got fucking fired after I just talked to him. I don't know. It's bad business. I think Mike Brown's getting scapegoated. This is a team that they lack a lot of juice, man. There's not a lot of depth. They lack shooting. Their shooters from 2 years ago have regressed, like Keegan Murray and Kevin Huerter. And I think this is a team that they had a special season. They weren't a special team. And it was a fluke of a year.
Can you argue Keegan Murray got him fired?
He's probably a contributing factor to it.
29% from three.
That's nasty.
12 points a game. You watch him. He's just not impactful on the offensive side at all.
I think at this point, it's just the Kings. The Kings are in a tough situation because a duo of Fox and Sabonis is only going to get you as far as a playoff berth, maybe a first round, second round exit if everything goes right. De'Aaron Fox to me is like Kemba Walker with the Hornets. Kemba left the Hornets after 8 seasons. He was an all-star player. He was eligible for a Supermax. The Hornets didn't want to pay him. De'Aaron Fox, this is currently his 8th season in Sacramento. Do I think he's an all-star? Yes. Do I think he's a Supermax type of player? I do not. And I think if they pay him, they kind of handicap their franchise. And this kind of feels like a situation where you fire Mike Brown to try to salvage this team, but there's nothing to salvage. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I would have kept Mike Brown for what it's worth. I agree, Joel. Someone had to get fired because they lost, I think, 12 of 17. They lost 5 in a row. That game against the Pistons. He has had some funny press conference moments, right? He had that. I forgot what game was over. He said that again and again and again. He went for like 3 minutes just saying again. But honestly, like, while they're in a tough situation, I also think they're just in an easy situation because this team isn't doing shit. You know, like, it's very easy for outsiders like myself to be like, yeah, just blow it up. Trade Fox, trade Sabonis. But I'm not in the front office having to sell season tickets and merchandise and doing all of this shit. It's very easy as a fan to, or a fan not involved, to be like, yeah, just trade all of these guys, and start from scratch. But that's really what you got to do, because 2 years ago, you were a top 3 seed in the Western Conference. You made your first playoffs and God knows how long, and it was great. And you lost in the first round, and then this past year you lost, or last season you lost in the play-in, and this year things are really going sideways and looks like you might not even make the play-in. So it just gradually has gotten worse and worse. And even when they made the playoffs, even when they were a top 3 seed, none of us thought this team was a serious contender, right? I think that first round is probably pretty 50-50 split between them and Golden State. But even still, like, if they got past the first round, nobody thought this was a team that was going to the NBA Finals. So I think someone had to pay for how poor this season has been. But in the same breath, you got to hope this front office, who has made some good moves, right? Like, I know Keegan hasn't worked out, and it's even surprising that Keon Ellis hasn't gotten more burn, especially after how he played down the stretch of last season. You have assets that you can move off of, right? Like, De'Aaron Fox is going to get you a pretty nice haul. Sabonis' value is going to be really interesting, because to have Sabonis on your team, you kind of need to build an offense around him. It's very awkward to just plant Sabonis in a random offense and have him figure it out. You need Sabonis to be a very important piece of your offense. And I don't think a lot of teams are going to make sacrifices to make Sabonis a focal point, at least not real good teams. So I think Fox gets you something. I think Sabonis is going to get you something to a lesser extent. But what you got to do is do stuff that the Kings have not been able to do over these last, forever of our life, is develop and draft some really good prospects. Because to expect anybody to come to Sacramento feels pretty far-fetched, right? No big free agent's going to be coming your way. So this is a team that's going to have to learn to build through the draft. You're going to have to develop these guys. They've had some success stories. They've had more failure than success. But I think this new regime in the front office that we've seen over the last couple of years has to give Kings fans some hope. But I was surprised Mike Brown got fired. It's a guy that was coach of the year. I think he's well-respected in the NBA. He's going to get another job, whether it's an assistant or an NBA head coach within the next year or so, or even maybe this season. But it was surprising because I thought he was well respected in the locker room. I felt like for the most part, players and coaches respected him. But again, this is just a team and ownership probably that felt like change had to be made. And it's easier to fire Mike Brown than it is to go and trade De'Aaron Fox. So I think that's why they made the move.
Bro got scapegoated, man. I like Mike Brown, man. Holds his players accountable. Talks mad shit in the post game. He did throw Fox under the bus last game. That's probably what kind of triggered this thing, And I think this team, more than anything, wants to keep Fox. Like, they really want to try to keep their lone star that they've had since probably Chris Webber or DeMarcus Cousins.
Sabonis.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
bro.
so,
I know what you mean.
they're in the team together. That's
Yeah,
what I'm tweeting. Yeah, so, like, this team is just, like you mentioned, like, they're not, we thought coming in they'll be an exciting team. You know, they're actually one of the worst clutch teams in the league. That was something that definitely shocked the shit out of me. You have DeMar.
Clutch players in the league.
Literally,
yeah.
DeMar and Fox, who either won it or were in contention to win the clutch player of the league. Just defensively, they're a black hole. They just cannot defend, in the half court, in transition, whether it's, at any type of pace. They just can't seem to get a good consistent defensive stops. And Mike Brown, when he got there, he had this team humming. They copied kind of Golden State's playbook and what they like to run. Had Keegan, Kevin Huerter, had Malik Monk having a breakout year. Fox was doing his thing. Sabonis was doing his thing. So you kind of felt good. And, I get the front office, even though it was a bad move in hindsight and getting DeMar, they tried. They genuinely tried to make some moves and maybe try to capitalize on just being a competent playoff team. Because when you're a Kings fan, coming from the ground, coming from the garbage, you just want to be competent. You want to be a team that consistently can get to the playoffs, be competitive. That's the start. And then you work your way up. And this team is just trying to find that avenue of just being consistent. But Fox probably gone. Keegan Murray, he came in at 23, so you kind of was expecting him to be a little bit more advanced, be a little bit more ready. He was ready his rookie year. I believe he broke the 3-point record.
Rookie record.
Yeah, rookie record for most 3-pointers. Kind of fell off a cliff a little
Was it
bit.
the franchise record or the
I think it was
league
franchise record. It was one of them. But
Definitely rookie record, most
for
threes
sure.
in the season
he
by
had,
rookie.
he had a great rookie year, kind of fell off a cliff. They haven't really found a solid backup big to kind of complement, have that defensive mindset behind Sabonis. Keon Ellis is up and down in the lineup. I don't know what that is with Mike Brown and him. They don't really have any defensive wings on the perimeter. DeMar has never really played defense. So you're kind of sitting here and you're like, we paid DeMar, probably retires in like 2 years. Fox is gone. Like you mentioned, Sabonis is going to be hard to move. Keegan's rookie extension is coming up. How does that look? What do you do with him? Malik Monk, you just gave him an extension last summer. So it's like this situation it's tough. Like, what do you do? And I think firing Mike Brown, you had to do something to kind of sway the fan base. But in the end, you're sitting at 13 and 17, 13 and 18. And you're kind of like looking outside in at the playoffs.
This is a full circle moment because Jaden Ivey, the player that they passed up on to draft Keegan, got
What
Mike
sucks
Brown
is
fired.
Keegan, like you mentioned, has the record for most threes by a rookie.
So
He's
Yes,
regressed
206.
really since then.
He shot 41% on almost 7 attempts. How the hell are we here? You're shooting less than 30% from three? You're one of the worst 3-point shooters in the league? And I look at the addition of DeMar DeRozan, and like you mentioned, they were supposed to be one of the most clutch teams, period. You have Fox, who was clutch player of the year. Last year wasn't as clutch, but still, you trust him in those situations. Then you get DeMar. This was supposed to be a lock. How is it that you add DeMar, now Keegan's taking a huge step back. Keon Ellis isn't getting as
Public
many
service
minutes.
announcement before you continue. We're dicking the Denver Nuggets right now.
The Bulls?
What?
No.
The Cavs.
Got him.
The Cavs.
How is
We's
it?
not the
That was
Warriors
good?
anymore.
They're not playing
I thought he
right
was going to say the Pistons.
I could have said anything.
Pistons are on a nice 2-game heater against who? The Lakers and
Mobley, 4 for 6 from the
three
three-point line.
wins on a road trip.
Kings.
I think the
Yeah.
Suns,
We're
Kings,
coming.
and Lakers.
I'm ready.
We are coming.
They play the Nuggets tomorrow.
Mitchell 33.
So
Mobley
keep on
26.
going with the Kings.
Darius Garland 25. Come, we're fucking here. Mobley 4 for 6 from the 3-point line, nigga.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's killing.
Oh my God. DeMar DeRozan hasn't played bad basketball this season by any means, but he's kind of taking opportunity away from the young players of the Kings, and it's kind of hurting the development. And then now Mike Brown gets blamed for it too, because these are young players for the Kings roster that we were hoping to take a step forward. I was very vocal. My X factor for the Kings this season is one person only, Keegan Murray. How does he develop? How does he get back on track? And so far, I'm not putting the whole blame on Keegan, but it's kind of the...
Fake his fault.
I won't say, but it is a great descriptor as to the main reason.
There was a lot of belief that Mike Brown put in Keegan. Mike Brown wanted Keegan to take a step last year in the scoring, and he had a lot of belief in him. So, I mean, that's not crazy to say, because Keegan's lack of development looks bad on Mike Brown for having that much self belief in him that he would become good.
Honestly,
he was good as hell his rookie year.
It's just being consistent. Like, I don't know, Keegan, I don't think we ever expected to turn into this like number 2 option on a championship team. But
role player.
Exactly, just be like the 40% 3-point shooter and play high level defense. I think that's what we were expecting.
Michael Porter Jr. to a lesser degree. Is that
Attack
crazy?
pin downs, attack, close out,
Yeah.
do a little something here and there.
Yeah, but you wanted him to grow. You wanted him to maybe get to from 12 to 16 to maybe 18.
Yeah, like
even
even Michael Porter Jr., we want him to grow a little bit.
His back is fucked up.
Nah, OD. But even still, we acknowledge this is the epitome of a strong role player.
Yep.
3-and-D. Keegan Murray is a little bit better defender. And he was shooting the ball at a crazy clip. And now we just gone so far back from that. And now we look at the Kings, and they've been one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA this season. It sucks because I didn't dislike the DeMar DeRozan move at the time. But in hindsight now I know it's not solely his fault because Mike Brown obviously makes the decision. And Keon Ellis was one of the main contributors as to why the defense turned it around late last year.
Yep.
And Keegan Murray going even more back. That's really the main reason the Kings are bad, and now Mike Brown's out of a job.